Hello, and welcome to Unbecoming with Elena Joy. Today, this episode, it's a reading of the article that's being published today, When Love Meant Being Saved, Learning to Connect Without Needing to Be Rescued, by Elena Joy. Have you ever fallen in love with someone because they helped you fall in love with yourself for the first time? And then, when it ended, did you wonder, am I still in love with me? For most of my life, I thought connection was something you earned by being broken enough to fix. I was the surprise baby in my family, born 9 years after my siblings, just as my parents were gearing up for divorce. I was a curly-haired distraction from the chaos, but not for long. I figured out early that the fastest way to get attention and keep it was to be a, quote, problem. As a baby, it was health issues. As a teenager, it was repentance because I had joined the Mormon church at 16 and learned that as long as I repented enough, God and all the members of his church had to love me forever. At 19, I met the man who would become my husband. He fit the knight in shining armor mold perfectly. Society loves a man who saves his princess. And I love being saved because it felt like love. Fast forward to 2017. I was 37 years old, a stay-at-home mom to 4 kids. I had started fly fishing, something that felt wildly mine. It had nothing to do with Boy Scouts or homework or anyone else's expectations. That's how I ended up at the Elks Lodge one night, standing awkwardly at a fly fishing club meeting, wondering if I remembered how to make friends. We met during the coffee break, 2 of the 6 women in a room of 150 old white men. Within 10 minutes, she had me laughing so hard, tears leaked out. The next time we met, I impressed her with my mom life wizardry, like dunking Oreos with a fork to get the perfect milk-to-cookie ratio. 3 weeks later, I was so gone. I think a big part of falling in love with her was how wildly validating it was to be seen. Not as the kid's mom, not as the Boy Scout leader, not as the firm partner's wife. Just me, Elena Joy, a woman with a brain, a heart, and a body that was waking up for the first time. She looked at me like I had something to contribute, like I was more than a collection of roles, and I fell in love with that idea. With her, I discovered that my voice had power, that my body was not broken, that my dreams mattered. She opened a door and the real me stepped through. But our relationship had a pattern, one that looked suspiciously like my marriage and even my religion. She was very, very good at solving my problems, and I was very, very good at being the one with the problems. She felt successful, I felt loved, until I didn't. Because as I grew more confident and self-sufficient, no longer needing to be saved, our ability to relate to each other crumbled. If your entire connection is built on fixing and being fixed, it's only a matter of time before it collapses under its own weight. Here's what I didn't expect. As that relationship ended, my confidence in relating to others tanked. I stopped reaching out to friends. Networking events? Forget it. Texts and DMs from people I value would come in, and I'd have no idea what to say, so they got left on read. For my entire life, I had been relating to the world as someone who needed to be rescued. Without that dynamic in play, I didn't know how to relate or how to belong. This closed down my ability to connect for a bit too long, and it can skyrocket our risk of burnout. And that's the thing about relational capacity, the depth of trust, connection, and psychological safety we experience with others and are able to offer others. When we can't relate to others as our whole selves, we stay shallow. We hide, we withdraw. And that lack of connection creates isolation, the biggest predictor of burnout that science has found. When you can't show up and relate to others as just you, when you're busy shape-shifting, fixing, or being fixed, you burn energy at a terrifying pace. You're lonely even if you're surrounded by people. And eventually that loneliness eats away at your resilience, your confidence, your belief that you belong anywhere. As I started to rebuild, I realized something radical. I do not have to be broken to relate and connect to people. I could tell my friends, I'm scared this breakup means I'm not really queer. Didn't mean I was broken. I could tell my sister I can't sleep because the silence in my bedroom feels familiar in a bad way. Didn't mean I was broken. I could tell my colleagues I'm struggling right now and I need patience, not advice. And the world kept spinning. They didn't see me as a problem to solve. They saw me as a human being who deserved support as she figured her own shit out. When I stopped showing up as the broken version of myself, I regained connection to others and eventually found trust in myself. I knew I'd have my own back, and I built a network of peers who didn't need to save me to love me. By taking the risk to relate to others as me, not broken me, I built relational capacity, the depth of trust, connection, and psychological safety we experience and are able to offer others. And it expanded my entire world. And here's the part I did not see coming. This lesson didn't just change my personal life, it completely transformed how I lead, how I build teams, and how I prevent burnout at work. Because it turns out the way we relate at work is the same way we relate at home, is the same way we relate everywhere, whether we like it or not. Forward this to someone who thinks they have to be broken to be loved. Hit subscribe, and let's keep building a world where connection feels like freedom, not performance. And if you haven't grabbed it yet, get yourself to burnoutstarterkit.com and download our free, do-it-yourself burnout prevention kit. You'll get 3 days of little mini lessons from me via video. You'll get a workbook. You'll get a visualization audio. You'll get so much cool stuff. I hope you check it out. I hope you download it. Try it. There's a massive completion prize. But most of all, be good to yourselves, fam. I appreciate you.